Hello, everybody. It's Charles Kemp, Mayor of Fairmont, and my wonderful friend and teammate and partner, Jerome Chestnut, our town manager. We're going to talk to you a little bit about cleaning up and making things look pretty. I want you to look. Now, I got small hands, but I want you to look. See, there's no scars, no little abrasions, nothing like that. But in 1960, 60-ish, during those years, my hands bled all the time. Not because I was in fights, but because there was no Roundup in those days. There was no weed eaters with the little pretty little string, nothing like that. There was just this, and I was not allowed to leave my house, the property where I still live today, without getting all the weeds out from between the rocks and the rock garden, because my Aunt Ora, Mrs. A.H. Hayes, that I live with, I was still in the same house, demanded that that yard look perfect, including mowing the grass with wet dew on it with a push lawnmower, which you had to stop each pass and file off the blades to make sure they were sharp. I made a promise to myself that if I ever graduated from high school and could have a job, I would never own a lawnmower. I would never mow anything in my yard again, and I haven't. I have people that do that, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. But the point I'm trying to make with all the bleeding hands and the knuckles and sitting on a coal scuttle upside down and pulling weeds out from rocks is that this town at one time took a lot of pride in how it looked. Really, my Aunt Ora was just one person. Ms. Willie Lee Mitchell, same way. They didn't even have the showing on garden club showings. They just came to my house and gave my Aunt Ora the blue ribbon. I mean, literally. I was under threat of death if I played ball in any of the baseball overthrows or basketballs went into the flower beds and damaged one petal on a dogwood. Not allowed. Yeah. So something happened over the years. We ran into, I think, the older people that took pride in this yard, in this house, in this community. They passed on. As we all knew they would, they passed on. And the rest of, I would say us, I take care of my stuff. I learned my lesson well. But a lot of people who got property passed down to them didn't get the memo that I'm looking down on you, or don't make me have to come back, or like Michael Jackson, hand up out of the the ground. And we've lost that edge. We've lost that beautiful edge, and we've got high grass and dilapidated buildings. Thank goodness the state of North Carolina has developed a plan, and they put it in the North Carolina Clean Sweep, which we observe and take advantage of. Mr. Chestnut has to deal with a lot more of this than I do. Mine is to ride around and say, well, I wish they'd mow their grass, or I wish they'd put panes of glass in their windows, or I wish they'd, fix up the front of their house. And when I was mayor before, I sent certificates to people who did that kind of thing. So Mr. Chestnut deals with this as a codes enforcement official in addition to his main job as being town manager. How do you handle that, or what are your thoughts, or what do you have to face, Mr. Chestnut?
So I just wanted to, go back on something you said, how your family and even my family, my grandmother and mother, when I was being raised up, they were so proud of their azaleas and their hostas and their roses, right. And both my mom and grandmother had that around their houses. And I was that guy. I was that kid that had to pull weeds and help them hoe and that sort of thing in their garden. But you're right, they took a lot more pride. Now, I'm not going to say we're not prideful of what we have. We're busy people. Yeah. For the working American out there that has children, it is hard to work all day, come home, clean up the kids, get them ready for homework, get them ready for dinner and bed, and lawns don't look the same. But what we can do, Mr. Mayor, is we can help each other. You know, I have been clear about, and I know when I say this, people are going to say, oh, just come on down with them with the hammer. And we're getting to that point, right? But in the meantime, we have tried to work with our citizens on keeping the town clean. Our public works does a magnificent job.
Yes, they do.
Keeping this town up. You and the youth group uh, do a fantastic time, going through picking spots that are heavily littered and cleaning up the town. We have pride in our community here, and we care about our community here. Um, and I shared with you this morning, just being out in the community and making connections. We had one lady just this morning agreed to, remove an abandoned structure from their property that's a danger to kids in the neighborhood, kids in the school. You know, we encourage our citizens to reach out to us to see how we can help them clean up their property.
And so what you've done is you've taken two, and you will when that's down, taken two eyesores, one on either side of the Rosenwald campus on
Yes,
Martin Luther King Drive, the Masonic Building and a house behind it, and now this dilapidated Amazon jungle grown up mobile home that was built in 1901.
Yes, sir.
You know, that's been sitting over there beside the school.
Yes, sir.
And you've killed both ends of the problem on both sides of the campus.
Most definitely, and we have numerous cases like that around town. But if I can share with our citizens, the method I use is children first. First responders are on the same level. So anything close to first responder facilities in the way of first responder that's a danger to our children or school facilities, I've really targeted those things since July the 1st. The planning board has been really involved in cleaning up our town. The mobile home we were just talking about was a project identified and set as a priority by this planning board to get our community cleaned up. And I'm not going to say their name, but even one of our planning board members was like, hey, I really got to tighten up my rental properties. As we go into this, we have to have everyone's buy-in. The board of commissioners and yourself was very intent during the budget season on making sure we had money for code enforcement, and we're spending that money, Mr. Mayor, and we're cleaning up our town.
The people think here's the problem in a small town. I don't know how they work in Charlotte. I don't understand that. I mean, it's beyond me. Town manager's probably got 16 or 17, 18,
yes,
20
sir.
people underneath him or her. All I know is this: I ride all over this town every week. There's not a single street in this town that I don't ride by or through. Maybe just one little street, but all over town. And it troubles me that there are some areas that need to be worked on.
Yes, sir.
We used to have a rule that said if the grass was 2 feet high, then it had to be cut. I got some of the guys on the board when I was a town board member and got that cut down to 12 inches.
Yes, sir.
And I thought that was a great victory. But we can't go on private property. Do you understand that there's a steel stub, talking country, a steel stake sticking out of the ground 8 inches with grass all up above that? Our guy goes on there with one of those big bush cutter things, runs over it. How much it cost?
It would
$500 or
cost
$600
easily, Mr. Mayor.
We can't do that.
Yeah.
And that's why we can cut right of ways and we can cut things that are emergency situations.
Yes, sir.
But we can't go on private property. And yet we get criticized. Why can't you make Mr. Jones cut his property? We can code him. I guess that's the term.
Most
Mr.
definitely.
Chestnut can do that. But what if he can't do it? Saying do it and getting it done is in two entirely different subjects.
Most definitely, Mr. Mayor. Me as a code enforcement officer, I'm allowed to drive by any property and look at it from the street. In order for me to take one step on that property, I have to have an administrative warrant if I'm not going like a mailman and going straight to the front door. For me to take one step around that house, I have to go to a local magistrate to get a administrative warrant to enter into that property, and it's only good for 48 hours, Mr. Mayor.
We're gonna close out here real quick, but I
Yes,
gotta
sir.
tell you this. I know that people watch this. You may not be in Fairmont. You may be watching this from Charlotte or Gastonia or, Buffalo, New York, where I don't know, because YouTube goes everywhere.
Yeah.
What Mr. Chestnut and I should do, and I'm not above doing it, have a class once a month, open up the Heritage Center, not charge you a dime. No textbook, no tests, no quizzes, no you're late, you go to ISS, nothing like that. Open the doors and say, come on in, we're going to pick a topic and we're going to talk to you about the process that the town of Fairmont uses for that particular process. To educate the people.
Yeah.
Educate them.
And do some work
There are no
together.
stupid people in Fairmont.
That's right.
None. But there's a lot of uneducated people,
I would agree.
not about their particular world they live in,
Correct.
but about the town's world.
Most definitely.
And that's what we need to do. We may do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. We may not. We may do that because we may not have anybody show up. Then again, we may have 100 people show up. But last thing, and then I'm gonna close out. I would rather have stood up in front of a firing squad in 1960 when I was 14 years old. I would rather have stood in front of a firing squad with the rifles cocked and loaded than to have gone after a baseball or a bouncing rubber ball that I bought from the Pope store that landed in my Aunt Aura's flower bed. You think I'm kidding? If my Aunt Aura happened to look out the window and see me up in her flower bed around the azaleas, whether I damaged anything or not, it'd have been it. My life would have ended.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
She took
So,
pride.
Absolutely. So I'm asking you, Mr. Chestnut and I are asking you, take pride in your town.
Yes.
Cut your grass. Trim your bushes. Let's make the visitors that come through here going to the beach say, wow, that's a nice looking town. Because they do come through here now,
Yes.
I promise you that. Thank y'all for listening, and we'll be back next week with another interesting and somewhat humorous video. Thank you.